Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Craft Talk. My name is Tito Mendoza, and today the topic is going to be about bravery. I was inspired by a conversation that I had with my friend Beni, and he was talking about dad life. There were some lessons that he was seeing raising his daughter, Mila, and he shared this story with me, which was really cool.
I love being a dad. I love it so much. You know, she did her dance recital. It was her first time ever on stage. You know, she's 5 years old, and I remember her coming off the stage. And I was like, a lot of kids, they get up there, they see the crowd of 100, 200 people, and they're like, frozen. But she was living her best life up there. She got off the stage, and she did her thing, and she comes off and goes like, Daddy, I really enjoyed that. I loved being on stage. That was fun. And I was like, so proud for multiple reasons. One, that she like conquered a fear a little bit. As Vida took her on stage, right before she got on stage, Vida said she heard her say, I'm really nervous. But then like talking to herself, Mila, and was like, I'm really nervous. She was like, let me just breathe. Okay, let's do this. And I was like, these are the things we've taught her, you know, like breathe, like being brave doesn't mean you're never afraid. It means you do the thing in spite of the fear. Like you overcome the fear. That's what being brave is. And we do her affirmations with her. And just to see those things like actually manifest themselves in her life and her to apply those things just makes me proud to be a dad, and just makes it that much more fun.
It was so fun to hear that story. It's kind of like hearing it made me wish I had those same kind of tools when I was younger. If only I was brave enough, maybe I could do it. Whatever X, Y, and Z thing is. Beni watching her process it and kind of have that self-talk of like, okay, all I have to do is just breathe through this. I can do this. And then she does it, which is really cool. So that conversation made me think about other great quotes or concepts that relate to that would help me and hopefully help you feel just a little bit braver, which is all we can ask for, right? Like we can't change from feeling not brave and then like 100% brave the next day. We can only hope for small incremental changes. Over time, we can recognize that like, oh, okay, I'm actually much more courageous than I thought I would be. It's gonna be a quote heavy episode, but that's cool because I love quotes. And if you have any that you want to share with me, definitely send them my way, because I love resonating with a quote because it kind of distills the core message in like a short phrase or a short sentence. Much like poetry, the strength of such like a short quote is really potent. A really good quote that resonates at the right time, it kind of hits you just like a certain way. So I'm hoping that some of these do. So I'll start with this quote. It's very similar to the clip I just shared with you. This one says, "The weird thing about bravery is that if you're doing it right, it feels like fear." The weird thing about bravery is that if you're doing it right, it feels like fear. I'm sure there's a Brene Brown passage somewhere in like Atlas of the Heart where sometimes like certain emotions kind of have the same physiological response, like excitement and anxiety or something like that is the same physical response in the body. I feel like it's kind of like that with bravery and fear. Kind of like what Beni said, it's just being brave doesn't mean you have zero fear. It just kind of means you're like willing to sit in the fear and willing to face the fear. That's something that I strive to have more of. Whether they're just like the tiniest things, like getting myself to do this. There are so many different fearful voices in your head that's going, I don't know, if you put yourself out there, you might fail and you'll look stupid. All of those things that we have that we're fearful of. I want to recognize it as the same energy as bravery. And it's actually just is bravery if I'm willing to allow it to be. Does that make sense? I don't know. And to go along with that, here's another quote from Ralph Waldo Emerson. "A hero is no braver than an ordinary man, but he is brave 5 minutes longer." Okay, Ralph, you got that one. That's the difference. If you can sit in the fear maybe just like 5 minutes longer, that's bravery. That's you being brave. Okay, moving on. Whenever I hear kind of like motivational things like this, there's only so much you can do to like make you feel better. I can tell you you're brave, you're doing a good job, and if you just face your fear, you could be brave. And I always appreciate that. it's just sometimes I'm like, how do I make it practical? How do we actually use that as a tool other than like a feel-good type thing? So I'll start with this quote, probably something I saw on Instagram. Ready is more of a decision than a feeling. I think a lot of times we get to a point where we're waiting for us to feel good about doing the thing, whatever that thing is. Once I feel ready, then I can do it. Once I start feeling brave, then I can be courageous. But this quote is just saying that like being ready is not really that feeling. It's more of the decision. Once you make the decision, that's when you could start making the changes. And that reminded me of a podcast I listened to with Alexei Papas.
From imdb.com, Savannah Leaf has
Me saying that just triggered my Echo device. That's really annoying. Alexei Papas is an Olympian. She's a filmmaker, a writer, just a multi-talented individual competing at the highest level. Outside of just the physical toll, there's a lot of mental tolls that it takes as well as an athlete. And in this podcast episode, she was talking about some of the mental struggles that she was having around this time and dealing with a lot of the internal conflict. And she shared that she was talking to her doctor, who was a psychiatrist, a psychologist, and he specialized in cognitive behavioral therapy. She was talking to him about what she was going through. She shared this like really wonderful way to look at things. First, your actions change, then your thoughts, then your feelings in that specific order. When I heard that, I was like, whoa. That is like the complete opposite of how I thought I could work through this thing. When we talk about it in terms of bravery, I feel like for myself, my thought process goes, oh, I need to feel brave first before I can start making action. But in this case, she's saying start with your actions so you can change the way you think. And if you're able to unlock the thinking part through your actions, over time, that will unlock the feeling. In a previous topic, I talked about this idea of the gap where the only way that you can achieve your vision is to put in the volume of work so you can close that gap. That's the same thing. Starting with your actions and make you understand that you're capable. In her specific instance, she was dealing with depression, but this principle works with, I feel like, everything. For us to actually start changing the way we feel, the practical steps towards that is actually taking action first. And it's not gonna feel good when you're starting to take those first actions because you're gonna feel like you're in that gap. But just like most things, if the more you do it, the more confident you get at it. And the more confident you are, the more you can feel like, I did it. I am brave for doing this. You could finally see it in yourself, hopefully. I hope that some of these quotes resonated with you, and I hope that you can find those little steps that you can take to help you start thinking differently and ultimately be able to feel like you're making it happen. And with that, thanks for listening to another episode of Craft Talk. We'll catch you on the next one. Bye.